The rain had been falling steadily for over an hour when the car gave up. No warning, no sputter, just a sudden loss of momentum, the dashboard flickering like a dying heart. I eased it to the shoulder of the highway, hazards clicking in the dark like an impatient metronome. Adam sat beside me, arms crossed, hood drawn up despite the heat. He hadn't said much since we left the city. I didn't blame him. His world had collapsed 2 weeks ago when he discovered his mother, my wife, wasn't the person either of us thought she was. "I'll check under the hood," I said, more for something to do than out of hope. I knew I wouldn't fix it. Not tonight, not here. Steam curled into the air like the breath of something wounded. I closed it again, defeated. "She's done." Adam didn't respond. He stared out the window, lost in thoughts I wasn't invited to share. With no signal and nothing nearby but trees and silence, we waited for a tow that wouldn't come. Eventually, headlights emerged, a local patrol car. The officer pointed us to a motel 2 miles up the road. Walking wasn't ideal, but it beat sitting in the dead car all night. The motel looked like it had seen better decades. Fluorescent lights buzzed above the entrance. At the desk, a woman in a crocheted shawl handed over a single-room key. "Only one left," she said. 2 beds. No smoking. And no pets. Her voice had the crackle of someone who had long stopped caring. We climbed the stairs in silence. Room 204 was as bleak as expected. Stale air, muted wallpaper, a tiny TV bolted to the dresser. Adam dropped his bag on the far bed and collapsed backward, eyes on the ceiling. I sat on the edge of mine, peeling off damp socks. "We should get some rest," I said. It was barely past 10, but the day felt like it had dragged itself across weeks. "I'm not tired," Adam muttered. Neither was I. But I didn't know what else to say. He reached into his bag, pulled out a protein bar, and offered half. I took it without a word. Small, quiet gestures had become our language lately. Shared silence. Unasked questions. Muted grief. "You think she regrets it?" he asked suddenly. The question felt like a knife slid gently across the skin. No blood, just a cold realization. I didn't answer right away. "I don't know," I said. "Maybe. Maybe not." "I used to think she was good," he said, voice flat. "Now I don't know who she is." I didn't either. The room hummed with silence again. Outside, the storm softened, but inside the tension held firm. We lay down in our separate beds, backs to each other, thoughts loud in the stillness. I didn't know it then, but the real breakdown hadn't been mechanical. It had already started, long before the car failed. I couldn't sleep. The hum of the air conditioner rattled in the corner, a soft, rhythmic wheeze like a tired breath that wouldn't quite catch. I stared at the water-stained ceiling, counting every passing car in the distance, headlights flashing briefly against the thin curtains. Adam shifted in the other bed. Then again. A sigh, audible even over the fan. "You awake?" he asked. "Yeah." A pause. "Can't stop thinking," he said, voice low. "It's like my brain won't shut up." I turned slightly toward him, though I couldn't see much in the dark. "What's on your mind?" Another pause, heavier this time. "She didn't even try to hide it," he said. "Not really. Like, maybe she wanted to get caught." I listened. Let him speak. That's what he needed. What he'd needed all along. Not solutions. Just space to bleed. I walked in on them, he continued, words slurred with fatigue or frustration or both. "She said it was a mistake. Just once." But I could tell she was lying. It was in her eyes. That kind of guilt doesn't come from once. His voice cracked. "I don't even know if she ever really loved my dad." I sat up, feet touching the cold floor, arms resting on my knees. "I think love's more complicated than that," I said quietly. "People want to be good, but sometimes they fail." He let out a dry laugh. "You still love her?" That one landed hard. I didn't answer immediately. I wasn't sure I could. "I don't know," I admitted. "Some days, yes. Others, I don't recognize her." Silence swelled between us, thick and unresolved. "She messed up everything," Adam said. "I don't even know who to trust anymore." "You can trust me," I said, perhaps too quickly. He didn't answer, but the bed creaked softly, and I sensed he'd turned to face me in the dark. You've always been decent, he said. Not fake like most people. I swallowed. There was weight in his words, like they were reaching for something deeper, unspoken. You're the only person I don't hate right now, he added. That sentence lingered, circling the room like smoke. It didn't feel like praise. It felt like a burden, one I wasn't sure I was ready to carry. We stayed like that in the dark. No more words. Just thoughts. Minutes passed, maybe hours. The storm outside faded to a dull drizzle, tapping gently on the window. Adam shifted again, and I heard the faint rustle of sheets. His breathing slowed, deeper now. I lay back, staring again at the ceiling. But this time I felt something had changed. Not in the world. Not even in him. In me. Something crossed a line. Quietly, invisibly, but definitely. And once a line's crossed, it's hard to unsee it. Sometime past midnight, I woke to the sound of quiet movement. Not abrupt, just the subtle shuffling of someone trying not to disturb. Adam stood near the window, silhouetted by the pale light from the parking lot. His arms wrapped around himself, body barely more than a shape in the dark. I sat up slowly. You okay? He turned slightly. Couldn't sleep. The air felt colder than it had before. Or maybe that was just inside me. I got up and walked over, not sure why. Just instinct. We stood shoulder to shoulder by the window. The world outside was still. Wet pavement reflected the glow of a flickering street lamp. It reminded me of childhood, quiet nights when everything felt too big and too close. She didn't just cheat, he said suddenly. She broke me. His voice was soft but sharp. I keep wondering if it was me, if I did something wrong. If maybe I wasn't enough for her to stay. You're not the reason she made that choice, I said gently. None of this is your fault. He looked at me then, really looked, eyes glassy, face unreadable in the dark. You say that like it's easy to believe. I wanted to reach for him, to comfort him like I might have when he was 10 and scraped his knee falling off his bike. But he wasn't a boy anymore. And this pain, it was deeper than anything I knew how to treat. Still, I moved closer. Slowly. Carefully. I rested a hand on his shoulder. He didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned into it. The moment stretched, not rushed, not dramatic. Just still. His head lowered to my shoulder, and I felt the tension in him soften, just slightly. My other hand lifted without thinking, resting gently at the back of his neck. We didn't speak. Didn't move. The air between us shifted. It was no longer just comfort. It was weight. Electricity. His fingers brushed my forearm, barely a touch, but deliberate. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. My pulse thudded in my ears, too loud, too aware. The line was right there, drawn thin in the dark. I saw it. I felt it. And I stepped closer anyway. Our faces were inches apart. I could feel his breath, uneven and warm. Then sudden, sharp, a door down the hall slammed shut. The sound snapped through the silence like a whip. We both froze. Then pulled back, fast, like gravity had reasserted itself. Adam returned to his bed without a word. I stayed standing for a moment longer, heart pounding, hands trembling with everything I hadn't done, but almost did. Back in bed, I stared at the ceiling again. But it didn't look the same. Something had cracked open between us. A line blurred. A truth neither of us dared to name. We hadn't crossed it, but we were no longer safely behind it either. The morning light cut across the room in pale slants, dust floating lazily in its path. The world felt still, like everything outside had moved on, but this room had stayed behind. I was already awake when Adam stirred. I heard the rustle of sheets, the quiet creak of the bed. But neither of us said anything. He went straight to the bathroom. The door clicked shut behind him. I sat up slowly, eyes scanning the same wallpaper, the same battered TV, the same untouched clock on the nightstand. But everything felt different, as if the air itself was heavier, thick with something we hadn't named. The bathroom door opened again. Adam stepped out, fully dressed, face unreadable. "We should go," he said. Yeah, I replied, barely above a whisper. We packed in silence. My hand brushed the TV remote, and I paused, then placed it back gently. Every motion felt deliberate, controlled, careful. We returned the key to the front desk and stepped outside. The rain had stopped, leaving behind the scent of wet asphalt and pine. A mechanic from the next town had brought the car back during the early hours. It sat parked and waiting, fixed and functional. But I didn't feel fixed. Not even close. Adam got in without a word. I followed. As the road unfolded before us, lined with mist and morning sun, I kept my eyes forward, hands tight on the wheel. I could feel his presence beside me, solid, quiet, impossible to ignore. About 20 minutes in, we stopped at a roadside diner. It was a routine move, familiar, mechanical. Coffee, eggs, neither of us particularly hungry. The waitress poured refills, asked about our night. I gave the usual answer. Just car trouble. Adam didn't speak. But when she left, he finally looked at me. About last night, he started, then stopped. Eyes flicked away. I waited. He reached into his jacket, pulled out something, and slid it across the table. Folded paper, worn at the creases. I opened it. Just one line, scribbled in hurried handwriting. Thanks for staying with me. I don't feel alone anymore. I folded it again. Said nothing. Some truths are louder when left unsaid. We finished our food. Back in the car, silence returned, but it wasn't cold. Just tentative. Fragile. Halfway home, my phone vibrated. My wife's name lit the screen. I watched it ring until it stopped. Adam noticed. You gonna call her back? I kept my eyes on the road. Not yet. He nodded, then leaned against the window. Eyes closed. At peace, or pretending to be. I didn't know what last night meant, not exactly. But I knew it changed something in both of us. Maybe it wasn't love. Maybe it wasn't lust. Maybe it was just two broken people looking for somewhere to land. And sometimes, the deepest betrayals don't leave marks. They leave memories.